Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I'm Damien Edwards from Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface, and with me I've got our support manager Andy Naylor.
Hi guys. So we're going to be here for the next hour, and we can take any questions that you may have with regards to Bitrix. With those questions we can show you live on screen whether you're using the cloud version of Bitrix or the on-premise version. We can answer any questions that you may have. If you want to send your questions over via YouTube, then just put them in the chat box to the right of the screen, or you can tweet us at Interface, or you can send us an email to live@interface.com, and we're here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern Time. So if you do have any questions that may come up in the week, please do drop us an email to that live@interface.com email address, and we can answer them on the next session to start off with. So I think we've got a few questions that have come in over the holidays, so we can cover those to start off with.
Okay, yeah, we've got a question here about a new feature which is chat observers in deals within the CRM. Let's just have a quick look. It's fairly straightforward to set up. So if we click into the CRM, go into deals. In fact, let's go into this. I'm on a self-hosted site. Let's go into this cloud site here, go into the CRM. So we've got two sites here. We've got a standard cloud account and we've got a self-hosted version. Essentially they look the same from the front end. Self-hosted has some additional features and it's customizable, more customizable. We've got a different background on, so you can see this one's the cloud with the sky background and this one's the self-hosted. Let's go into deals within the cloud account. If we open up any of our deals, you'll see that we have a new feature called observers. We can invite people now into chat in here. Let's go into here. If we open up our, so we're going to enable our observers field here, and this will allow me to now select as a multi-select field, so we can add in a number of people who can observe this, deal. So we can see them down here now, and we can have a chat conversation with them up here. Let's just give that a refresh. So we start a chat. Okay, so the observers don't automatically get added in. We need to select them from the list here.
I think they would get manually. They would automatically get added in, wouldn't they, if you had them prior to clicking on Start Chat?
Yeah. So I can now have a chat conversation with this group of users about what to do, what's the best way to take this deal forward. But benefits of this is anyone in the business can open up the chat window from a link. They'll see a notification on the right hand side in the chat widget on the right hand side. They can open up the chat window from the desktop app. They can do it on their mobile. So you could have a group chat with people who are in different locations using different devices very quickly related to this particular deal. So it's quite a good feature, for collaborating with people who are in different locations using different devices. I think it's very straightforward to use. Should be available in leads as well, both leads and deals. Okay, we've got a question about how to create a work group. I've seen before a work group can be created from a business process. What's the reason for this, and how do I do this? So the reason why you create a work group from a business process is that you can create a work group manually. Or if I go into here and create the group manually, it asks me a few questions about the group, and it creates a standard group. If we create it from a business process, then we can add in a bit of additional functionality that will allow us to create a maybe a more bespoke group. It also allows us to create the group, to allow us to bring in information from fields, other fields within related items within the system. So if we're going to run a process, for instance, from a contact or a company in the CRM, we can bring in the company name to form the workgroup name or part of the workgroup name. We can bring in some descriptions and that we've added into a deal or a company into that workgroup. We're going to do a process to create.
Yeah, we've covered it a couple of times on the live sessions before, and yeah, there's a number of different ways to do it. Actually, the way that we will do it is a run workflow. We will have start a new project off by clicking on here, and then we can start a project off by that. And it's commonly used, that method is commonly used in a deal, because as Damien said, you can pull in pretty much any of the fields into the work group and the tasks that are created. And what we can do, we're going to manually run it, but we could also have it, when you hit a new stage, you could have it automatically create a new project work group as well. So let's jump into the settings. We go to the automation and business processes. So just to point out that you are going to need a paid version of Bitrix to be able to do this. So if we click on add template here, then we're going to have new project, and what we're going to do is we're going to have these so auto run is when a new deal has been added, so it will trigger this business process. When it's been updated, we can trigger this business process. But what we're going to do, uncheck both of those, and we can manually run this process. We'll add a couple of parameters, and these parameters are basically going to be form fields in a pop-up. So if we just say project name, give it an ID, project name as a string field, and then we will have members, project members, and we're going to use this as bind to user, and then we're going to select on multiple. So we'll have that, and then we'll have one more, and we'll call this task name, or in fact we'll call this proposal, and proposal document. So we click on file, click on OK. So we've got those three form fields there, and that'll become evident when we run this business process. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to have a create work group. So we just simply drag and drop the action block here. So we'll say and we're going to give it a group name, and what we can do here is simply select the parameters that we've created. We'll have ourselves as the project owner. Group members, we can select from the template parameters again, project members. And just to point out, these sessions are recorded as well, so you can always come back to YouTube and have a look at this if I'm going a little bit quickly. So target site is going to be our intranet. Click on save. So the work group's been created. Now what we probably want to do is create a task in here. So if we go to a task, and the good thing about doing this is you can create a structured approach to your projects. So we'll call this project task. Give it a task name. So we'll call this, I don't know, maybe introduction meeting. We'll just set this as Matt Smith, and we'll set ourselves as the responsible person. You can put whatever content you want in here. So again, giving it a fixed structure. And what we want to do is be able to bind it to the work group that we've created initially. So this is where a lot of people fall down on, so it's good to note that if you click on the three dots to the right of social network group, click on additional results, and then you can see we can grab the group ID from the project work group that we've created. We might want to bind it to the CRM entity as well. And then finally, what we'll do is we'll just upload the document, create a folder. So we'll call this folder Proposal folder. We'll create that in the social network group drive. And again, we can select from additional results the group ID. We'll call this Proposal Documents. And we will again make this for ourselves. So now that we've created the folder, what we can do here is upload proposal, click on drive folder, click on the three dots, additional results, and you can see here proposal folder, drive folder ID. Now we want the file to upload. We created a parameter at the beginning called template parameters and the proposal document, and again we'll upload as ourselves. So that is a fairly quick way to create a work group, create a task and assign it to the project work group, create a folder, and upload the folder. So let's save that. And again, like I say, this has been recorded, so you can always come back and take a look at how we did it a little bit slower. So if we go into a particular deal, click into this sales inquiry. Now, because we're manually running this, if we click on the run workflow in the top and click on new project. So when I created this business process, we had it manually run and we created some parameters. So we can say Bitrix24 live, and we'll call it January. And we'll select some members. So we'll say Damien, Joe, Jack, and Katie, and then we'll select.
Those are users of the system, are they? They're not. Yeah, they're not. They're not contacts associated with this with the deal. They're users in the system, aren't they? Yeah.
They're just standard users of the system. So this is the people who you want to be involved in this project. And then we've uploaded a file here. So if you click on Start, you can see that we have a notification to say if we want to connect the drive folder. You can see a task has been associated to this deal. Now if we go into the work groups on the left hand side, and if we say Bitrix24 live January, click into here, you can see the members who I added in the pop-up form. You can see in the activity stream as well that we've created the task, so that's been correctly added. And then if we click into there, we'll be able to see a little bit of content that we added. And then if we go to the drive, you can see the proposal documents. It's just been created here. Click into there and you'll be able to see the document that we uploaded via the pop-up form. And this is a really great way of being able to, like I say, structure your projects and kick off any that you want.
Okay, so we've got a question here related to that. Can an external work group be created with a business process based off a deal? So we did that on a deal, so it can be, you can run a process like that on a deal to create a business process, as we showed there, including creating an extranet user from the deal. So firstly, can an external work group be created? I don't know if the option does that for us, or does the action block do that, allow us to create an external work group?
So if we go into the templates for a deal, I think, oh sorry, I'm on the, go into the CRM, just go back into the business process that we created. You can create an extranet work group on the cloud or the self-hosted version. Simple as clicking, when I clicked on the target site, clicking the new project here, click into the create work group action block, and you can see target site. So we can say the extranet. So we can create an extranet work group. The second part of that question, can you create an extranet user? You cannot on the cloud version, but you can do on the self-hosted version. I think if you Damien shows you the process that we have.
So yeah, there's not, I mean, you need to use some PHP code to run this process. There's not a standard action block which will convert a CRM contact into a user of the system. So what you need to do is the records in the CRM, whether they're associated with a deal or a company, they're CRM entities, they're not users. So what you need to do is use that information from that CRM contact to create an actual user in the system, an extranet user in the system. You can't do that because there's not a standard action block to do it, but on the self-hosted it's possible to write a little bit of code and do that. We have a business process available here which is make live user. And this process will it will add them to the work group. In this case, it adds them to the work group that's associated with, so let me just click into the company. So in this case, we're creating a work group from a company. So create project, we've called it project here. This will create a work group. We'll then assign an ID. I've got it here. It'll show the ID of the work group in this record. Once we've done that, we can then run make live user. This will then look for the company, it'll look for the ID of the work group that's associated with that company that we've created, and it will add them into that work group. So really, essentially, the first thing it does is it creates the user in the system based on the information that it has in the record here. Makes them as an extranet user, so they've got limited access. And it then adds them to the work group. It then generates an email with a username and password and sends that out to them. So in one click here, I'm doing all those different things using a process. Should have a look at the process.
Yeah, one of the good things with the process about creating as David mentioned, it sends the email out to the actual user themselves. So you can see here we have the email message. And it auto-generates based on the PHP code. It auto-generates their password, so you can template that up if you wish. Press make live user, sends a templated email out to the client. They have their username, password that's been auto-generated, and the URL to the site. So it's
you can look at. We can achieve the first two things on the cloud. If you want to be able to add extranet users in, then you need to use the self-hosted version of Bitrix because it uses these a couple of PHP blocks up here which generate the user within the system. So I had a question here about any chance you're going to improve the ability to upload PDFs instead of Word documents when creating templates in the CRM. So there's no option to create, there's nothing in the pipeline to use PDF documents instead of Word documents. I think it would be probably, I don't know how that would work with PDF documents when we're creating templates within the CRM. Then let's go into a quote. Let's open up a quote and documents and add new template. So we use Word documents to see if we can download one of those. Quote. Not sure if I've got a Word tool on here to be able to open that. Let's give it a go. So we use Word documents in order for you to create your templates because you can obviously edit a Word document. It's much simpler than you can edit a PDF document. I know that you said in your question that it might not format exactly the way you want it. I think you have to just kind of play around with it. If the margins and things like that are not working for you, maybe you just need to change the Word document itself. But I'm suspecting that it probably wouldn't be possible with a PDF anyway. So it uses, we're using these fields here, which are pulling in information from fields within your the relevant record within the CRM. So you need to have these field references here to be able to populate the document with the relevant fields. So No, I guess there isn't any option really going to be an option to use a PDF, and you've just got to kind of work with your Word document to get it to lay out the way you need it. Okay.
Yeah, so one of the common questions that we get, and it came up last week, just with regards to integrating your system via the API. So Bitrix gives you the ability to use its API using webhooks. So if you want to push information into Bitrix, or if you want to push information out of Bitrix, so let's say for example the most common one that we deal with is people wanting to push out information to their CRM or get information from another CRM into Bitrix. So how this works is if we go into the application store, and then at the top, so this you can do this on the cloud or the on-premise version. So you just need to click on the webhooks option here, and then if we click on the add webhook, what we can do, let's just say we want to get some information into the CRM. Click on inbound webhook, and we can give it a name. So we could say, I don't know, integrate inbound CRM contacts. And then what we can do here, you can see that you would need to grant access to the CRM. And then if we click on save, what that does is it then creates a secret code basically on the system. So we can see here that we have this unique code, and then you can see what you would need to do is this code is injected into your unique URL, and you would then need to post information to that specific REST API URL. So there is information on Bitrix. If we just go to Bitrix24 API, if we just search this, and then if we go into here, click into the CRM side here, and if you wanted to create and add inbound contacts, let's just say for example, then you would use the crm.contact.add, and you can see here that we've got a few examples of the fields. So you would post that information via the URL, and that would come into your version of Bitrix. If anybody wants to see an example of the code involved in that, then please just drop us a note and we can send that information over to you for the URL.
Okay, can you run through an example of how I would use a list and then convert that to a workflow? So that's exactly what you want to do, I think, but let's just have a look in lists first of all. So you can create lists to create tables of data, and you can run a workflow on those, and you can pull in some information from that list into the workflow, post it into something else within the system. Let's create a new list then. So we could probably call it, could be a list of expenses. Save that, go back into it, and we can create some fields. So two things we need to do then. First, we need to create our fields, the tables of data that you need in your list, and then we can create some workflows to show what you want the workflow to do. It doesn't say, but let's create a field. So if it's a list of expenses, then you're probably going to have something like a price field. I think we have a money. Money type. Let's default that to US dollars. Let's change that to cost, and let's add a field called date. So we want to know what date this spend was made on. We've got a date field. Save that. Go back to our list. So we've created our 3 fields, just checking the settings box that those are visible in this list view. We can see name, cost and date. Sections, we've not used sections, we don't need to use individual sections on this, so we can take it out. Let's add an item in here. Hotel, $100, and let's put a date in, save that, and then let's just add another one. Flight.
So one of the things with these lists, they are quite, this is a standalone module inside Bitrix, but what you could have is the work group side of Bitrix, so the project work groups. You can have your lists individually inside those work groups, can't you? So
yeah, absolutely. So this is standalone. It sits within the services section within Bitrix, and yeah, you can have individual ones for you might have. If you're creating a project, you might create a work group for that project, and you might create a list then of expenses associated with that work group. So we've created our list, we've created a couple of items. What's nice about using lists is that as I type, I can then narrow down my search. So I'm just looking for hotels, let's say, that we probably would have done in this. Let's just do that now. Probably want to, oops, wrong field, probably want to actually associate this with a user in the system. So let's add a field so that we know who this relates to. Call it employee, and we're going to bind that to an employee or a user in the system. Save. So we've added that additional field. Go back to our list. Let's just show that, go into the settings and show that employee field in our list. Go there. You can rearrange these quite well, squash these up a bit. Let's just edit these 2 that we've put in to associate them with an employee. If I click on the little icon on the left hand side, then I can edit each of them. Now shows me the employee field, and that one's going to be my own. I'm just logged in as this user, John Smith. And this one, let's edit this one as well and associate that with a different user. So we've got 2 users now, two items associated with 2 different users. If I want to filter by my own items, I can do that. Again, I'm going to need to add these different items into the filter view. And if I click on myself in terms of employees and search, then I can see the full extent of all the items. We've got a date field. If we want to search by date field, we could do that as well. So I might want to search by my expenses for a particular date period. Okay, so the question was, can I convert that into a workflow? Well, you can create a workflow that runs off one of these list items. If we're going to configure workflow, create a sequential business process. Let's call it approval. Got the option to automatically run this when a list item is added as new or whenever it's changed. I guess we will probably run this automatically. If it's an expenses and it needs approving, I guess we'd automatically run these when they're added. So we'll leave it as when added and click save. The only thing we need to do is add in an approval element here. So we're just going to send this to somebody in the finance department to approve it. And so we need to select who's going to be the approving voter.
We just had a question come through just about can you help creating a document approval workflow in a business process. So what Damien's showing you here, this approval action block in this business process is pretty much exactly the same way you would need to create the process in a document folder.
Yeah. So we're going to select who is our head of finance here, who needs to approve this. We're going to call it and then please approve. We want to send a link. We want to put a link into a link to this particular list item within here. Let me just open up a new field and go back into our services, lists and expenses. So we can't open up. We could probably open up a filtered view, but I'm just gonna link to the full expenses list view for this in this case. So so this is going to be the approver. This is going to be the message. And
I think with one of these, what we could do again, one of the questions that we commonly get is how can we include HTML in here? We can't actually use HTML in these blocks, so we use something called BB code. So you can see here that I've just got square bracket URL equals, and then the link, and the square bracket, and you can say click here to view expense, and then close the bracket. If you Google BB code references, you'll come up with a lot of the different reference codes, so you'll be able to use those not only in this assignment description, but you'll be able to use it in notifications as well.
Okay, let's change these descriptions here to approve and reject, and comment is required. Leave that as no. Show input field, we don't need an input field on this one, so we turn that off. And save. So we have our approval. It will run when a new item is added. We just need to add in some notifications. Let's just copy this and maybe bring in a notification when it's approved. And just copy and paste that in for now. So we need to select a sender. Claire, who's the approver, select a recipient. That's going to be the employee. So we're going to use, we're going to bring in the field of, we're going to use the field that we've used, the employee we associated this list item with. They're going to be the recipient of this notification. You can add in additional recipients as well. We'll save that. We'll probably put a notification in on rejected, but we'll leave that.
I think if you are going to test this, we just need to, well, we will need to move this one out and put it in.
Oh, right, yeah, put ourselves in.
Maybe if that's been approved, you probably would. You just need to say
approve. Okay, let's go back into our expenses item. So we can add another one now. Let's just run through this quickly. Put in another hotel. Cost. Put date in. I guess what you might want to have on here as well is a file where they can attach a receipt or something like that. But so we've added that in. If we go into our workflows, we can see that there are outstanding workflows that we need to deal with. If I open up here, I've got one called expenses. Please approve expenses. If I click onto there, let's open that in a new tab. It'll take me through to back to my list item. But from this page, we can approve or reject. Doesn't actually do anything at the moment in terms of the business process. Doesn't then do anything apart from send out a notification. What you'll probably have is a status within the list item. And so if we just go back quickly into our list items, I'll not create this, but you would probably have an additional column which is called status. When it's approved, we can change that status to approved, so from a sort of pending status or something like that.
So just following on from somebody just asked about, I need help creating a document approval workflow with the business process. So you would do exactly the same workflow as the business process as what Damien's just covered. But if you go into your drive, let's just say you want it in the company drive, you will need to go to the gear icon at the top. Where it says configure business processes, just make sure that they are activated. And then if we go to the business processes tab, what we can do here is create a new business process if you wanted to, or there are some already, simple approve, two-stage approval or first approval. You just need to make sure that when you upload, if you want it to be triggered when you upload a document into a document drive, you just need to make sure that it's executed during creation. So that would mean that every time a document gets uploaded into, in our case, the company drive, then it will trigger this particular business process off. So you would then just need to make sure that the approval process went to the relevant people, and so on and so forth. And you have business processes not only in the company drive here, but you have them in each work group document drive, so you can have approval processes completely different in each work group document drive if you wanted.
Yeah, and also a question from the same person, where's documentation that explains parameters, variables and constants. So these are, if we've got a business process open, these are the items within a business process, which, as you say, can be a bit confusing. So there is documentation that should explain this. If you go to bitrix24.com/support, there is documentation that explains the uses of these. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the constants and variables are things that you would declare in your process itself. So you've got, for example, if you wanted to declare a variable, you can use the action set variable here, and then use that variable further along down the line. For the parameters side of things, it's what we showed you when we were creating the manual business process, and it popped up with a form. Those form fields are your parameters. So if you wanted to, if we go back into deals, I think it was in, and then into here, click on create. Was it create? Oh, we're in the, let's just go back into here. So the parameter fields are the form fields that we set up. So you can see, click on here, new project, these are parameters. And then you can grab this information and use them in the actual business process itself.
So you can, when in terms of the business process, you can use these fields that are available here. You can ask people to define their variable fields or parameters within here. You can create constant fields that don't exist here or inputted here but are used in the business process. So I think this is the kind of these variable fields are the kind of useful ones generally. But you should find documentation on those on the support page.
So we've got a question with regards to is there a way to export all my leads in one shot? So it's fairly straightforward really. I think if you were to go to your leads here, if you wanted to export everything in here, just click on the gear icon and click on export leads to CSV or Excel. That will allow you to export. This is a little new feature that Bitrix has introduced, export all lead fields. If you don't check this box, then it's only going to export the column headers that you've got within your table grid. So if you only want, for example, if you only want these ones to be exported that are in blue, then you would deselect those, click on to lead export, and make sure you just don't select export all lead fields, so it will export those. You can create a filtered list here, so if we wanted for all the sources, all our lead sources that came from email, we could then filter that list and then click on here and click on export to CSV. So you're then exporting a filtered list of leads. So it's pretty straightforward. That's the same in contacts, companies and deals as well.
Yeah, you need to do it separately in each module, so you can't download all CRM data in one go. Separate modules, you export them separately. Let's put our contact details up there. So we're Bitrix24 partners. We're based in the UK. We have offices in the US and Dubai, and we can provide a demo for you if you're just looking at Bitrix for the first time. We can provide implementation, including customization and training for you, and we provide a telephone support service. So if you're using Bitrix and you're using Bitrix support on chat or ticket, you want something that's a bit quicker, more in depth to support, then we can provide that for you. So we had a follow-up question about those parameter fields. So you're right that the form fields are parameter fields. So yeah, if you want to create a form, you're requesting information from a user. In order to use that information in a process, it's a parameter field that you need to use.
Just got a question about where are the products in the business process if you want to change the tax value or quantity. Now, I don't think they are available in the cloud or the on-premise version as standard. You can't actually pull product information into the business process as standard. On the on-premise version, we have before pulled in, using some of the PHP code action block, the details of products, for example, that are on a deal. We have used that. Now, I know with regards, I still don't think you'll be able to do it, but if we go into the CRM settings, and if you're using, for example, the new online store feature, there is some automation involved in the orders that are coming through your online store. Now, still, I don't think you will be able to pull in at the moment the product information, but if you are using on-premise, do get in touch with us and we could provide you with some more information on how you can use the PHP block to pull in those product details.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are, I think, in a business process, a number of standard action blocks, and there's a lot. You're limited to those, to what's available in terms of what you can do. I think you can do most things, but if you're up against something you can't do with, or you can't find a standard action block, then with a self-hosted you can use a PHP block here, and I can then add in PHP code in there to pull in information from another area of the system, or post information from another area of the system, or use some code to sort of calculate things based on different values within different areas of the system. So yeah, I'm sure it will come in time into both the cloud and the on-premise version, but at the moment you would need to just use the PHP block. How do I invite Extranet users into my system? We did look at inviting in, or we looked at converting a contact into an Extranet user. So that's one way, I guess, of inviting an Extranet user in. If they're in your CRM user business process, you need the self-hosted to do that. Otherwise, you go to and we can invite. So you've got a few different options here, but I can invite an Extranet user in here. You can provide this registration link. I don't know if that would allow the Extranet users to.
I don't think it would. I think the difference with an Extranet user is that they have to be associated to an Extranet workgroup. So if you're inviting them using the Invite Users button here, you could still register them by clicking on External User, and you can drop them into any available Extranet workgroup that you have. You can do it via this method, or you could go into the actual project workgroup itself, or the workgroup itself. And so let's just go into our workgroups here. So you can invite them when you set them up, but you can see our golden coloured workgroups here. These are classified as Extranet workgroups. So if we go into here, click on Invite to Project, then you can see here, Invite External Users. If your Extranet user already exists, you can select them from your available Extranet users on your system. If they don't exist, then you can just drop them an email and send them a little intro text. They'll receive an email, and then they click on the link, register. As soon as they log in, they'll see a little bit of a restricted view of Bitrix, and then they'll be able to have access to their work group. So one of the things with Extranets, if you're not aware, that if you're on the self-hosted, You can tweak them a little bit more, so you can brand them up. So you can see this is our extranet on our on-premise demo site. We have some customized banners here on the right-hand side, linking to different areas. So an example again, you could use your extranet as a support portal. Again, on the on-premise, you can have a ticketing system. So if we clicked on support on the left-hand side, then a user would be able to submit any support tickets via the extranet. So you do have a little bit of extra flexibility with the on-premise and the extranet, whereas the cloud, you just have access to the workgroup that you're in.
Yeah, we've got a question following up from the first thing we started with, which is can I add an extranet user in as an observer on a deal? And so I'm not too sure the answer to this, but we can probably try and find out. Generally, extranet users can't access any areas of the CRM at all. So, and under the terms of the license, are really probably not going to generally want extranet users to access your CRM data. They are restricted. I wonder whether you can access. They can access a. Let's go into this other site here. I wonder whether they can actually access a chat on a deal. Sure, if I know a login for an extranet user on this site, but let's have a go. Do you think this user might be an extranet user?
I think on this one, it would.
Yeah. So this is an extranet user. So if we click on add again, you can see the extranet users here are in gold. So this user is an extranet user. So if we can log in, do we know the login for that user?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too. Let's just.
If you went into this chat, let's just see if you could actually add an extranet user in. So
looks like you can add them.
Yeah.
And they're appearing at the top. So that's quite a nice feature, I think. So they're not going to see this CRM record at all. They're going to, but you can chat with them about it inside a chat window. So they'll see something slightly different when they log in. But you can have your sales managers responsible for this client, and they can bring in someone from a technical department or a commercial department into a group, and you could all have a chat and decide how you're going to move forward with this deal. So that might have really good specific uses for some particular sales processes. So that seems like that would work.
Yeah, the extranet user would still have to be a member of a work group, but like you say, you might be using deals as orders, and you might be working on multiple orders for that client. So you can have a chat based on that particular order. So it would be a really good tool to use, and you can use as long as you've got less than, I think it's going up, isn't it, the video and the voice.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the users in here, you can click on video call and make a video call here, or you can make a voice call. So you can have an online maybe conference to discuss this particular deal as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have any more questions. If you've got any more questions.
So you just got, are we still doing the webinars on Monday? So yeah, it's 11 AM Eastern on every Monday, and we cover a range of different topics, focusing on a particular area of Bitrix. So we focus on the CRM, project management, the telephony, the new feature of Bitrix24 sites, the self-hosted version of Bitrix alone, and business processes as well. So we do cover specific areas in detail.
Okay, do you have any ideas about when discuss an email to activity stream and chat feature will be available? Discuss an email to activity stream.
Yeah, so at the moment...
Oh, right, it's sort of greyed out, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
You can see it, it's not there. Not too sure. I mean, the answer is don't know when that's going to be available, but yeah. So I think these sort of advanced features in the mailbox, really, really make a good case for using the the email client built within Bitrix over and above something like Outlook or Gmail. There might be some specific features in there that are going to be really good for your business. But yeah, as you say, some of them are not available. So things like this, being able to copy the content of an email into an activity stream so you can discuss it, or into a chat window, that might be really useful for some businesses. But it looks like it's coming. It's not available. You can also do things like save to CRM, or we'll be able to.
You can, yeah, you certainly can do that now.
Already. Oh, right, okay. Save to CRM, so you can copy that into the relevant content in the CRM. So,
yeah, for those of you that don't know about the email side of Bitrix, you can simply connect your email account now. They have the range of different accounts that you can connect. So once you've connected it, then you can basically link it to the CRM. So any email that you receive, if the contact you receive it from exists in your CRM, it will associate it to that contact and put it in that contact's activity stream. Mm-hmm. And any email that you send out to a particular contact that exists, so if I've connected my Gmail account here, if I use my Gmail account and send the email out, Bitrix will check to see if the contact exists, and again associate it to that particular contact in the CRM. So it shows a history of all your communication with that particular contact, which is great for keeping, showing your history.
Okay, does Bitrix use PGP encryption for sending emails? I don't know the answer to that, but I'd have to check that. It might be something you'd want to ask Bitrix, but I think it's a good question, because encrypted email communication is a requirement for a number of industries, and so yeah, I don't know. It's quite new. The mailbox is quite new, so I'm not too sure the answer to that at this stage. Okay, see if you've got any more questions.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, for anything that you may have followed quite quickly on this session, these are recorded and posted onto the Bitrix channel, so you can watch these back at a later date to recap anything. And if you want any more details on anything that we've covered today, please drop us an email. Our details are on the screen at the moment, so we can answer any questions that you may have. Or if you want a private demonstration, one-to-one with one of our engineers, we can certainly set that up online, so we can focus on any areas of Bitrix that you may be interested in.
Yeah, okay, I don't think we've got any more questions, so I guess we'll wrap it up. And register for our webinars at intraface.com/webinars, and subscribe to Bitrix24 on YouTube to receive notifications when we have a live session, and subscribe to Intraface as well on YouTube, and see webinar videos and other videos on there as well. Okay, thanks for your time. See you next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.